Walk into a Harley Davidson dealership and you expect bikes moving fast. Instead, some of the longest sitting machines on the floor are Harley Trikes. They are comfortable, factory-built, and often heavily discounted, yet dealers cannot sell them. In this video, we are counting down 10 Harley Davidson Trikes that are up for grabs right now, breaking down exactly why they are stuck and who they actually make real sense for. Stick around, because number 1 clearly explains the pattern behind all of them. Number 10, the 2009 to 2013 Triglide Ultra. This was not an experiment. It was a clear declaration. When Harley Davidson introduced the Triglide Ultra in 2009, it marked the brand's official return to factory-built three-wheel touring. No aftermarket kits, no compromises. This was a purpose-engineered trike designed for riders who wanted true cross-country comfort, low-speed confidence, and the security of three wheels without giving up the full touring experience. And in terms of equipment, it absolutely delivered. Hard saddlebags, a tour pack, cruise control, factory reverse, and a wide, heavily planted stance that made long days in the saddle feel manageable rather than exhausting. For many riders, especially those actively stepping away from two wheels, it was exactly the machine they were looking for. But here is where the market tells a very different story. When new, these Triglide Ultras entered showrooms with prices commonly starting in the high $30,000 range and frequently climbing past $40,000 once paint and options were added. That premium positioning mattered because resale always remembers the original buy-in. Today, those same trikes tell a much quieter story on dealer floors. Early examples from this era regularly list between roughly $12,000 and $21,000, with higher mile units dipping even lower and exceptionally clean. Low mile examples pushing toward the low 20s. That is a truly massive drop, not because the trike lost its purpose, but because the buyer pool noticeably thinned. Three-wheel touring appeals to a far narrower audience. Add older technology, pre-Milwaukee-Eight power, and a high original sticker, and demand slows first and fastest at dealerships. That is why this Triglide lands at number 10, not because it failed, but because it reveals the first real clue in this countdown. Sometimes the hardest motorcycles to move are the ones that arrive just a little too early, and that theme only gets stronger from here. And if this is the kind of insider motorcycle talk you have been looking for, real market insight, absolutely no fluff, hit that like button, drop some serious hype in the comments, and subscribe. Because that is exactly what keeps us fully committed to bringing you the bikes everyone else is still overlooking. And if you want something newer, but not more complicated, dealers often point you toward the next direction, to the motorcycle that promised simplicity, style, and a fresh start, but created its own unique challenges along the way. Number 9, Harley Davidson Freewheeler. This trike showed up with attitude. When Harley Davidson introduced the Freewheeler in 2015, it was meant to be the rebellious sibling in the trike lineup. Lower, leaner, and visually closer to a hot rod than a full-dress tour, it targeted riders who wanted three-wheel stability without the bulk of a Triglide Ultra. You still got the essentials: a 6-speed cruise drive transmission, electric reverse, confident road manners, just wrapped in a stripped-down package that felt more muscular than luxurious. And for the right rider, it made perfect sense. When new, the Freewheeler entered showrooms with pricing that started just under $25,000. As updates rolled in and the Milwaukee-Eight 107 engine arrived by 2017, sticker prices climbed into the mid-$20,000 range. That placed it below the Triglide, but still firmly in premium territory. Fast forward to today, and the resale picture shifts dramatically. Early freewheelers from this period commonly appear between roughly $16,000 and $22,000, with higher mileage examples dipping into the mid-teens and cleaner units hovering closer to the high teens. That gap between original price and current value is where dealer patience gets tested. Now I want to hear from you. After everything we just covered about the Freewheeler, the stripped-down design, the pricing, and why it struggles to sell, what has been your experience with it? Have you seen one sit on a dealership floor for months, or have you actually ridden one and felt the appeal? Drop your take in the comments, because real rider experience fills in the gaps numbers alone cannot explain. These early freewheelers show how stripping things down does not always speed things up. They look lighter, feel simpler, and aim at a different kind of rider, yet that same minimalism can quietly limit how many buyers actually step forward. When touring comfort drops off, so does part of the audience. So the next step swings hard in the opposite direction, because if not enough is one problem, too much can be another. And the next machine proves that piling on features, options, and premium pricing can create a trike that is impressive on paper, but surprisingly hard to move off the floor. Number 8, the high-spec Triglide Ultra from Premium Trim Years. This is the trike that makes people stop mid-scroll. Not because it is rare, not because it is cheap, but because it looks like something that should already be gone. Deep paint, loaded dash, acres of storage, and every touring comfort Harley Davidson knows how to build, all sitting quietly on a dealer floor, waiting longer than anyone expects. And when new, they were priced like it. Base figures already sat well into the high $30,000 range, and once premium paint, special finishes, and factory options were added, many of these trikes pushed comfortably past $40,000. Here is where expectations collide with reality. On today's dealer floors, even well-kept, high-spec Triglide Ultras show up with surprisingly wide pricing spreads. Clean examples are frequently listed anywhere from the high teens to the mid-30s, depending on year, mileage, and trim package. In other words, trikes that once carried luxury-level price tags are now being compared against far cheaper touring alternatives. That comparison slows everything down. The extras do not expand the buyer pool. They simply raise the decision threshold. Riders cross-shopping at these prices start weighing two-wheel touring bikes, newer base model trikes, or even lighter three-wheel options with fewer frills. Value becomes subjective, and urgency disappears. That is why this high-spec triglides make it clear that price can slow a sale just as much as age. When a trike gets loaded to the ceiling, buyers do not just admire it, they compare it. And that comparison often leads to one uncomfortable question. If I am spending this much, should it not feel newer everywhere? That question pushes us directly to the next category. Because before features and trims even matter, many buyers stop at one deciding line on the spec sheet: the engine. And the next group of trikes shows how being on the wrong side of a major powertrain change can quietly stall interest. Number 7, pre-Milwaukee-Eight touring trikes. This is where perception beats reality. These trikes are not outdated or unreliable. Many run flawlessly. But once Harley Davidson introduced the Milwaukee-Eight engine, everything before it was mentally reclassified by buyers, fair or not. Before 2017, touring trikes used the twin cam. It was proven, torquey down low, and built to last. Then the Milwaukee-Eight arrived with smoother delivery, better heat control, and stronger pull right off idle. Riders felt it immediately, and the market locked that feeling in. Today, the divide is obvious. Pre-Milwaukee-Eight. Triglide Ultras from the mid-2000 teens often sit between $14,000 and $22,000, while Milwaukee-Eight trikes push into the mid-20s and beyond $30,000. That gap makes buyers hesitate. Now let me ask you something. If you were shopping today, would that engine gap matter to you? Or would the price difference be enough to change your mind? Have you ever chosen an older Harley because the value made more sense? Or walked away because it was not the latest generation? Share your experience in the comments. We really value them more than you think. So these trikes wait, not because they fall short, but because expectations shifted. For many shoppers, it is not about how they ride, it is about what they are not. And that single missing generation is often enough to send them searching for a different answer. That search leads us to the next machine, one that does check every modern box, yet still finds itself lingering. Number 6, the Road Glide 3. At a glance, the Road Glide 3 looks like a guaranteed win. Shark nose fairing, factory three-wheel stability, long-distance comfort baked into the platform. It wears one of the most recognizable front ends Harley Davidson has ever built, and yet it often hangs around dealer floors longer than expected. Pricing explains the first half of that story. New Road Glide 3 trikes typically enter showrooms in the mid-$30,000 range, with premium finishes nudging them even higher. That alone places them in a narrow shopping lane. Used examples tell the rest of the tale. Recent listings show lightly used models appearing anywhere from the mid-20s up into the low 30s, depending on year and mileage. That spread creates hesitation. Buyers do not just compare this trike to other trikes, they compare it to two-wheel road glides with similar technology, often for less money. Others look sideways at the Freewheeler and question whether the added fairing justifies the price jump. The Road Glide 3 ends up straddling categories, and that split focus slows decisions. There is also an early ownership effect. Some riders trade these trikes back quickly after discovering the fit or riding feel is not what they expected, adding clean, low-mile units back into dealer inventory. So the takeaway is simple. It is an excellent machine, but one that often moves slower than it should. And that hesitation matters because it leads us directly to the next group on this list. The next trikes do not sit because they overlap too many categories or carry premium pricing. They sit because of when they were built. Caught in the middle of a major shift, they are not old enough to be bargains and not new enough to feel current, and that timing alone is often enough to keep them parked longer than dealers would like. Number 5, the 2014-16 touring platform trikes. This is where logic says these bikes should fly, and the market quietly disagrees. These factory trikes were built on Harley Davidson's long-running touring platform, powered by the twin-cam engine that carried the brand for years. Full-dress bodywork, long-distance comfort, reverse gear, and proven durability all came standard. On the road, they still feel composed, capable, and perfectly suited for serious mileage. When new, they were priced accordingly. A 2014 Triglide Ultra opened around the low $30,000 range, with 2015 and 2016 models edging slightly higher. Buyers paid premium money for what was then the top of Harley's trike lineup. Today, the numbers tell a different story. On dealer floors, these trikes are commonly listed between the high teens and the low 20s, depending on miles and condition. That puts them thousands below their original price, not because they fell apart, but because buyer expectations shifted. Shoppers at this level compare everything side by side. Newer Milwaukee-Eight trikes promise refinement. Two-wheel touring bikes offer familiarity and quicker resale. And even clean, well-kept twin-cam trikes start to feel like a compromise in cautious buyers' minds. And that is the pattern here. Nothing is wrong with the machine. It is the timing that works against it. Which brings us to the next step in this countdown. Because the next trikes do not struggle because of age, engines, or pricing gaps. They struggle because of identity. They carry one of Harley's most famous names, yet in the trike world, that name does not always translate as cleanly as buyers expect. Number 4, street glide-based trike variants. This one confuses people, because on paper it should be a slam dunk. The Street Glide name carries serious weight. It is one of Harley Davidson's most recognizable touring platforms, loved for its frame-mounted fairing, clean lines, and balanced road manners. So when Harley experimented with factory-built trikes derived from the Street Glide platform, most notably around 2010 to 2011, the logic seemed obvious. Take what riders already love, add three-wheel stability, and watch them sell. That is not what happened. Those Street Glide-inspired trikes were well-built and undeniably capable, but they occupied an awkward space in the lineup. They were more expensive than two-wheel Street Glides, yet offered fewer touring cues than full-dress trikes. Production was short-lived and the model quietly faded. Fast forward to today, and the pricing pressure is even clearer. New Harley trikes start in the low $30,000 range, with Road Glide 3 models climbing into the mid-30s and Triglide Ultras pushing close to $40,000. Meanwhile, a brand new two-wheel Street Glide sits thousands below that threshold. And this is where I want your take. If you love the Street Glide look, would adding a third wheel make it more appealing? Or does that price jump immediately change the equation? Share your thoughts in the comments. And based on everything we have covered so far, pricing, overlap, and buyer hesitation, who do you think ends up at number 1? Is it the trike that is priced the highest, the one that overlaps the most, or the one that exposes the biggest disconnect between riders and dealers. Drop your guess below and subscribe before we enter the top 3. Because as we move forward, you will notice the next trike facing a similar problem to the previous ones. Only this time, it carries far more touring weight than anyone expects. Number 3, aftermarket trike conversions. Unlike factory-built trikes, these machines begin life as standard two-wheel Harleys before being converted by third-party companies. Independent builders remove the rear wheel and install a trike kit, ranging from simple solid axle setups to fully independent rear ends with custom bodywork and added storage. The result can look impressive, and for some owners, it is exactly what they want. Cost is often the hook. Entry-level conversion kits can be found in the low thousands, while more complete systems with suspension and integrated trunks climb into the high thousands before installation. Once labor, paint matching, alignment, and reinforcement are factored in, total investment grows quickly, sometimes approaching factory trike territory. That is where resale trouble begins. From a dealer's perspective, every aftermarket trike is a one-off. There is no factory certification, no standardized warranty, and no uniform ride quality to lean on. Buyers notice that immediately. Even well-built conversions invite hesitation because shoppers are asked to trust the work of a builder they may have never heard of. Meanwhile, factory Harley trikes with documented histories still command strong money on the used market, often well into the upper $20,000 range depending on year and miles. That comparison is unavoidable. Aftermarket conversions make one thing clear. When a trike does not come straight from the factory, buyers slow down. Even if the build is solid, doubt lingers, and doubt kills momentum on a dealer floor. But the next hurdle is more uncomfortable, because it affects factory trikes too. This time, the concern is not who built it, it is how much life buyers think it has left. And that single number on the odometer can quietly undo everything else. Number 2, high-mileage touring trikes. This is where logic and emotion collide. Factory Harley Davidson trikes like the Triglide Ultra, Freewheeler, and Road Glide 3 are built for distance. New, they carry premium pricing, with Freewheelers starting in the low 30,000s and fully dressed touring trikes pushing past the high 30,000s before options. Years later, those same machines return to dealer floors with very different tags. Used prices stretch from the low teens into the high 30,000s, and mileage becomes the tipping point. Many of the slowest sellers show 40,000 miles or more, normal for a touring trike, but mentally heavy for buyers. The hesitation is not mechanical. Harley touring engines are known for longevity. The problem is perception. Shoppers want value without uncertainty, and high mileage introduces doubt. Dealers discount, but price rarely overcomes that barrier. There is also a simple reality. Trike owners ride. Long trips add miles quickly, and supply grows faster than demand when those trikes cycle back into the market. And that brings us to the next and final step in this countdown. Because the trike at number 1 does not sit because of mileage, pricing, or technology. It sits for a much more uncomfortable reason. On paper, it looks like the safest buy of all, but in the showroom, it raises the biggest unanswered question. Before we get there, do you like this video? Click that like button, and if you want to support us even more, become a member and get early access to our newest videos before anyone else. Now let us look at the trike that explains the pattern behind every single one on this list. Number 1, early resale, low mileage factory trikes. This one surprises almost everyone. On paper, a barely ridden Harley Davidson trike should sell instantly. Low miles, recent model year, clean condition. In reality, these are often the slowest movers. The reason is price. New factory trikes already sit at the top of the market. A Triglide Ultra starts just under $40,000. A Road Glide 3 lands in the mid-30,000s. Even a Freewheeler opens north of $30,000 before options. Now look at lightly used inventory. Road Glide 3s listed near $40,000 with only a few hundred miles. Triglide Ultras priced deep into the low 40,000s, still in break-in territory. Used by definition, but priced like new. That creates hesitation. Buyers compare them directly to brand new trikes with full warranties, fresh incentives, and the ability to choose exactly what they want. Lightly used stops feeling like value and starts feeling like a risk. So there you have it. 10 Harley Davidson trikes that are not failing because they are bad machines, but because they live in a space most riders never stop to consider. And if this video made you look twice at bikes you have been ignoring, or rethink what a real deal actually looks like, click the next video to continue the road trip. Join our tribe by subscribing, and if you want to support the channel and get early access to our newest videos, become a member.